Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Open Mic here on my YouTube channel. My name's John Campea, and this is the all-open discussion show, talking about all the things that we want to talk about as film fans. And yes, we're live. We weren't live this morning because, again, guys, I'm having, streaming internet problems at my place with my service provider, and I can't even promise that we're going to make it all the way through this show, but we're going to try our best. It seems to be working right now. Let's see if it actually holds up. Okay, let's not waste any time. Let's dive right into the questions today. And the first question today comes to us from AFC, who writes, John, when will your announcement be made? When I am ready to make the announcement, AFC. AFC follows it up. If Thanos has had dusted, would the gauntlet and stones dust? Theoretically, since all clothing that everybody else was wearing who dusted, the clothing dusted too. So theoretically, yes. However, I believe wearing the gauntlet and all the stones that were empowering the dusting, I think that made him immune to the dusting. Of course, this is all speculation, of course, absolutely. But I believe that made him immune to the dusting, so he wouldn't have dusted in the first place. Would it have dusted if he did? Sure, but since he was wearing it in the first place, he wasn't going to dust, so it's irrelevant. Ben Hayusa writes, thoughts on the show Full House? It's up there as one of my favorite TV sitcoms like Friends, Cosby Show, and Three's Company. Three's Company, like the funniest show to me, in my opinion. Also, R.I.P. Burt Reynolds. Yeah, Burt Reynolds passed away, 82 years old. The bandit has driven off into the sunset, and it's a real shame. He's one of the greatest pure movie stars of all time. I'll be honest, I was never that big of a fan of Full House. I mean, don't get me wrong, I watched a bunch of it, and I enjoyed a bunch of it. But it was never something that was like, you know, when I look back at that era, when I think of like Wings or Cheers or shows like that hold a certain level of all-time fondness for me, Full House isn't one of those. And I tried to watch one episode of the new incarnation of the Netflix Fuller House is called, and I thought it was just offensive to humanity, bad. But like my wife Ann, she loves the original Full House. Loves it. She would punch me in the arm to say anything other than great things about it. But I liked it as much as anybody else did. I'll admit I wasn't a huge fan, but I really didn't like it. The original Three's Company was hilarious. It was a little before my time, but I remember watching the old reruns when I was a kid and thought they were hilarious. The sexual innuendo jokes they could do at that time was stuff you can't even get away with today in some cases. It's kind of pretty nuts. But anyway, Three's Company. All right. Chris Warden writes, screw Jason Momoa. There's only one true Aquaman, and that's Entourage's original bad boy himself, Mr. Vinny Chase. So for those of you who did not watch Entourage, and I know a lot of you guys did, for those of you who did not watch Entourage, that was one of the big ongoing themes was Vinny and trying to get an Aquaman movie, and Vinny was going to play Aquaman. So I remember when they announced they were going to have Aquaman in the DCU, the sheer number of memes I saw of Vinny Chase, it was absolutely hilarious. But good memory, man. All right. Ben Hayusa writes, also, any idea when Punisher Season 2 and Daredevil Season 3 releases? We've been asked that question like a dozen times in the last 2 weeks, Ben. They said early 2019, right? Love those two shows. My only two favorite Marvel Netflix shows. They are the best shows they've got. Daredevil and Punisher are definitely the two best shows they have. They just haven't said. Now, they just announced that Daredevil was going to be at New York Comic Con. So they were going to bring Daredevil to New York Comic Con. I've got to assume that either then or by then we will have an official release date. I thought there may be a slight chance they released it on November 21st, or I should say December 21st, the same day as Aquaman. I thought there was a slight chance they would do that, but then when you guys reminded me, actually, Marvel Television already has another show debuting on December 21st against Aquaman. Hulu's The Runaways, which is, of course, connected to Marvel Television. So they're already doing that anyway. So clearly, Marvel's not going to let a Marvel show release on the same day as another Marvel show. That much is for sure. But I kind of thought it'll probably be early 2019, but we don't have long to wait. New York Comic Con will know for sure, and they'll probably announce the Punisher release date as well. Okay. Mason Cackman writes, loved your origin story on becoming a Patriots fan yesterday on open mic. Let's go, Pats. Yeah, so a lot of people often ask me, well, wait, you're Canadian. How did you become a Patriots fan? And I told the story. Here's a short version. I became a Bill Parcells fan when he beat my favorite team, the Buffalo Bills, in the Super Bowl. Then eventually he ended up at the Patriots. I became a fan of the Patriots when he was there coaching before Brady ever became quarterback, and I've just been a fan of them ever since. So that's how I became a Patriots fan. It was really through Bill Parcells. All right. Caleb Bradford writes, R.I.P. Burt Reynolds. R.I.P. indeed, man. It's hard. It's hard to imagine a world without Burt Reynolds. I mean, it sounds like a stupid thing to say because, yes, everybody who's older than you has always been around. But seriously, the world I live in, the world I have always lived in from the day I was born, Burt Reynolds was a movie star. Burt Reynolds was here, and he was a movie star. For all of my life, from the day I was born, Burt Reynolds was a movie star. One of the biggest stars in the world, and Burt Reynolds was here and a movie star. I have never lived in the world where the movie star Burt Reynolds was not here. It's kind of, and I know the awkwardness of saying that, but it's like, it's kind of weird. Anyways, I never met Burt Reynolds. I don't know him. I'm just saying it's like really weird to think, like you almost think of him as immortal in many ways, right? But yeah, you know I'm going to be watching some Smokey and the Bandit later. You know I'm going to be watching some of that. Let's see here. Donaldo Martinez writes, not even Thanos, by the snap of his fingers, can kill Wile E. Coyote. Nope. Thanos would snap his fingers, and Coyote would be burst into flames and have all sorts of bad things happen to him. But he'll still be back after the commercial break with some other new scheme from Acme Devices trying to get the gauntlet off of Thanos. So you know that's going to happen. All right. Chris Warden writes, Trans Am Firebird convertibles basically owe their entire existence to one man, R.I.P. Burt Reynolds. And yeah, right? Like, play a game for a second. Imagine Burt Reynolds. I almost guarantee you, most of you guys, when you brought up an image of Burt Reynolds, was in one of those cars. That black car, like, probably most of you, because it's hard for me to picture Burt Reynolds outside of that car. Like, for me, naturally, when I think of Burt Reynolds, one of those cars also appears in my head. He's just so synonymous with them, right? So, good observation, Chris. All right. Murray Reich writes, posted on the Campea Facebook group a photo of this year's NFL rules parody. Check it out. I'll check it out when I have a chance, man. Murray follows that up with, still seeing Peppermint sitting at 20%. Yeah, and you know what? When I last checked, now this was earlier, it's gone up. When I first checked in on Peppermint, because it's got my girl Jennifer Garner, it was at 10%. 10. Not good. Not good. It has gone up since then. Actually, I'm curious, where's it at right now? If I look up Peppermint, Rotten Tomatoes, we end up with a movie that is currently sitting at 14%. It's higher than 10, but it's sitting at 14%. Not good. I don't care. She's my girl. So yeah, me and my buddy are going to go do a doubleheader tonight. We're going to go because Anne's out of the state. She flew out to Rhode Island. So I got the house to myself for a week. So me and my buddy tonight, we're going to go out and do a doubleheader. We're going to go watch The Nun, and then we're going to watch Peppermint. Because I don't care. Peppermint can have a 0%. It's my girl, Jennifer Garner. I'm going to go watch Peppermint. Of course I'm going to go watch Peppermint. I don't know if I'm going to like it because it's like 14%. But I'm going to go with an open mind. Let's see what happens. But like I said, man, that movie could be rocking to 0 and I'd still be going to see it. Richard Karate writes, do you think Antoine Fuqua would be a good replacement for Danny Boyle as director of Bond 25? I think it would be a perfect guy to do with his movie styles. Your thoughts? You know what I'm going to say. Would X-director be good directing X? Well, as long as they're a talented director. Antoine Fuqua, you guys know what I think of Antoine Fuqua. I think he's a really good director. I think he's actually a bit of an underrated director. I think he's very good. So... would he? Sure, but I put the asterisk beside there that there's about 20 or 30 other names I could put there that I could say that person would also be a very good director. So is Antoine Fuqua one of those 20 or 30 guys that I think would be a good director for the next James Bond? Yes. I do not believe he would be the perfect guy to direct it. I do not believe there is any perfect guy to direct it, but he would be a good choice. He would be a good choice. He would be a choice that would put a smile on my face. and I think put a smile on a lot of people's faces. But I don't know that I would say like he's necessarily, the perfect guy to do it. No, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that by a long shot. But he would be a good guy to do it, just like there are a lot of other good guys to do it. I had Antoine Fuqua once in my studio. He came in to talk about Magnificent Seven. He came in to talk about Magnificent Seven. And it was great. And he was really wonderful. He was great to talk with. He was super forthcoming. Just a really nice guy. And then he hung around for about 20 minutes afterwards. We just sat around, talked about movies. And then I walked him. He said, let's just keep talking. So I walked him to the elevator, went down the elevator, walked him to his car with his publicist. And just a really nice guy, too. And obviously, super talented director. All right. Ben Rayner writes, did you hear about the Predator scene they cut? Yeah, you know what? I was in because right now is a very, very crazy time for me. Like I do the show in the morning. Then I have to drive to Hollywood. And I'm there for a couple hours in the afternoon. And then I have to drive back to get back in here in time to do open mic. And I saw that there was something about they cut a scene because there was somebody who has a record for as a sexual predator or something like that. And they no pun intended. And they decided to cut. Like I haven't read about it yet, though. I haven't read about that yet. So all I know is the headline, but I don't know the details because I haven't had a chance to read about it yet today. So I got to look into that more. Sebastian writes, how do I support Robert B. on YouTube e-commerce? Well, Robert Meyer Burnett, he will be launching when he's ready, he'll be launching a Patreon campaign. When he's ready. He doesn't feel like he's got all the stuff in place yet. Once he does, he'll come up with ways to support him for sure. And I think that's awesome that you're thinking about that already. Alex Pitt writes, disappointed with the Nun and Peppermint Rotten Tomato scores. Well, I'm super disappointed with the Peppermint one. I haven't seen the Nun one yet, though. I mean, shouldn't be surprised when you hold off the review embargo until the day before the movie comes out. We shouldn't be too surprised that it's getting low scores, right? A Peppermint, same thing. Well, at least the Nun's got a 35. That's still bad, but at least it's not as bad as Peppermint. So, and I got a double header for both of these tonight. I'll talk about both of these shows on the John Campea Show tomorrow morning. All right. Sebastian writes, how come people don't see traditional TV as dying? I don't know what you're talking about, Sebastian. That's all anybody talks about. Everybody sees that. Everybody talks about it. So I don't know what you mean by... look, it is still the most powerful force out there. Traditional TV and the cable networks are still the most... Make no mistake, I was just talking to a TV executive the other day. They are still the most powerful force out there, but they are in rapid decline. Especially with the rise of non-traditional TV. Things like Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime and all that kind of stuff. They're still the most powerful force out there. And everybody in TV will tell you that. But it is rapidly in decline. And its days are numbered. Look, here's what's going to happen. I believe at some point, these major networks, like Fox, the whole model of cable is going to be turned on its ear. Things like Fox, things like NBC, CBS, ABC, CW, all these things... They're all going to become like Netflix. CBS is going to become a subscription service. You watch all their original content. They're going to become HBO, right? You can subscribe to HBO and you get all their content. That's what's going to happen to NBC. That's what's going to happen to CBS. That's what's going to happen to ABC. It's going to take a while, but at some point, that's what's going to happen. Let's see. Ben Rayner writes, like you, the nail scene in A Quiet Place freaks me out. It always freaked me out in Home Alone 2. Yep, when Marv steps on one, always turns away for that part. You know, it's funny, Ben, because I was talking about this maybe a couple months ago. That scene in A Quiet Place with the nail sticking out of the step, that is by far the most terrifying, bone-chilling scene of that movie to me. I don't care. Like, the monsters are great and all that kind of stuff is terrifying, but none of it comes close to seeing Emily Blunt walking down those stairs and knowing that that nail is there in the stairs, and then watching her foot come down. Nothing will chill my bones more than that. I guarantee you nothing in Halloween is going to chill my bones like that. A nail sticking out of a step. Nothing. And this is the funny thing. It's the things that we can really relate with that seem to terrify me the most. Like some guy has Doomsday punch him in the face. Okay, that's awesome, that would suck. Guy takes a bazooka to the chest. Ooh, that would suck. But we've all either had or come close to getting one of our fingers broken, right? A scene where a guy grabs another guy's finger and breaks the finger? Far more terrifying to me. Far more bone chilling to me than a bazooka going into some guy's chest. The idea of, because there's something more real about that. A nail sticking out of a step. There's something real, because that could happen to me anytime I walk down the stairs. I accidentally walk by a doorway the wrong way. I could catch my finger and snap my finger. I'm getting chills down my spine just thinking about it. It's horrific. It's terrifying. And it's those little things that can be the absolutely most bone-chilling stuff in a movie. And that scene is definitely like right at the top of that list for me. Mike Hill writes, would you rather see Ted 3 or Paddington 3? Oh, no question. Paddington 3. Easy. The first two Paddington movies are brilliant. Like, just absolutely representative of why movies are made in the first place kind of movies. Paddington 1 and Paddington 2 are awesome. Overall, I mean, Ted is a very different kind of movie. The Ted movies are obviously very, very different from Paddington style movies. But make no mistake, the Paddington movies are so universally above the Ted movies. It's crazy. And I appreciate the Ted movies. I like Ted 1 is great. Ted 2 is really solid still. Not quite as good as Ted 1, but really solid. But yeah, to me, no question. Paddington. I take Paddington in a heartbeat. Sebastian writes, Avengers in IMAX today. Don't regret not going. I'm not quite sure what you're saying, but don't regret not going. Are you saying like I should go? I got to go see some other ones, but I've seen the movie many, many, many times. But I think that's awesome. You get to go watch it in IMAX. Ant Banks, 1984 writes, can you imagine in Avengers 4, Cap does a roll call. Every hero is alive and facing the threat. They yell, "Here, Cap," and Cap says, "Avengers assemble." Yeah, I think, look, here's the funny thing. I feel like every MCU movie that Captain America has been in, other than perhaps Captain America the First Avenger, every MCU movie coming out that Captain America has been in or would be a part of, there's always speculation. Is this the movie where Captain America finally yells, "Avengers assemble"? There was even speculation about going into Winter Soldier, even though the Avengers weren't there, but Black Widow was there and Nick Fury was in it, so maybe he'll say it. Obviously, he didn't say it. Then they thought, well, in Age of Ultron, is he going to say it in Age of Ultron? Sure, he's absolutely going to say it in Age of Ultron. Didn't say it in Age of Ultron. Then we're going into Civil War, and everyone's like, okay, he's got to say it in Civil War. Didn't say it in Civil War. Now we got Infinity War. Okay, Cap is finally going to say Avengers Assemble, and he never said it in here either. So now we're all going, well, damn, he's got to say it, doesn't he? Doesn't he have to say it in Avengers 4? But look, honestly, this is a truth none of us want to hear. There's no rule written anywhere that says he ever has to say it. Huh? It's true. There's no rule written anywhere that says Captain America has to say it at all, ever. That would suck. I mean, but honestly, though, I think I would almost rather them never say it than find a way for him to force it in to have him say it just for the sake of saying it. But look, I'm like everybody else. I want there to be a big climactic moment and, and the battle is in the heat of it and Steve's got to rally them and yells, "Avengers, assemble!" And everybody, because he's the Cap, right? And everybody, I mean, come on. We would all completely defecate on our pants. Would we not all defecate in our pants? Sitting in watching Avengers 4 and some huge battle going on, and Cap comes up with a strategy and yells, "Avengers assemble!" and everybody, come on. It would be Poop City. That theater would become Poop City. We would all defecate ourselves in pure orgasmic joy. It would be the greatest thing ever. But it may not happen. And it may not happen at all. So, I don't know. We're going to have to, we've just been speculating about when he's going to say it for so many years now. It's never happened. I think it's about time we start realizing it may not happen. I still think it will. And I think it will in Avengers 4. But I am more cognizant now than ever before that there's a very real possibility here that it doesn't happen at all. We might have to just get used to that. All right. James L.H. writes, surprised what was on your show about Cavill. Guy's a really good actor before playing Superman, such as Two Doors, and in my opinion, proven movie star. Oh yeah, it was a ridiculous comment. Look, and to this moment, again, like somebody wrote in and said, for those of you who don't know, on the John Campea show earlier, somebody wrote in and said, hey, another film pundit was saying that Henry Cavill's not a real movie star because of box office. Not a real movie star because of box office. Now, to this moment, I still don't know who that film pundit was, and it doesn't really matter. It's a stupid thing to say. Now, I'm a fairly smart guy, and I say stupid things. You're probably a pretty smart guy or girl, and I guarantee you used to say stupid things too. And I'm sure whoever this other film pundit was is probably a very smart person who just happened to, it just happens to be their turn to say something stupid. Tomorrow will probably be my turn to say something really stupid. I feel like every other day is my turn to say something really stupid. But yeah, that was a really stupid thing to say. Henry Cavill is clearly a movie star. To suggest that he's not is to say that Brad Pitt's not a movie star. To suggest that is to say that Robert Downey Jr. is not a movie star. Hey, because, hey, take away the big franchise films. What has he got? The Judge. That flopped. He's got The Soloist. That flopped. If you want to take away the... but of course Robert Downey Jr. is a big movie star. And of course, Brad Pitt's a big movie star. Of course, Henry Cavill's a big movie star. Let's not be ridiculous. All right. Adam Douglas writes, see a popular film category. You were hardly missed. Oh my gosh. I was so happy to see it. And the only reason I know about this is because a bunch of people were tweeting to me. So the Academy, which was all poised to do one of the stupidest things in movie history. They were all poised for this next upcoming Academy Awards to introduce the new category, Best Popular Film. Stupid, idiotic, moronic. What were they smoking? I could sit here for an hour coming up with words to describe how idiotic they were for even considering this asinine idea. Anyway, it looks like maybe some cooler heads have prevailed, and it got announced today that we're going to put that on the back burner for now. They didn't even know what it meant. Like, whenever they ask, well, what qualifies as the popular film category? Oh, we don't know. We'll figure it out. And they never even knew what it was going to be. And they were going to have it at the Academy Awards this year. Idiotic. I don't care if they got it figured out or not. It's a stupid thing to do. There are other things you can do to improve the Oscars. You came up with a couple of other good ideas to improve the Oscars. Well done. But that one was asinine. Oh my God, that was stupid. Like, I just want to smack you in the mouth just for even thinking of it and considering it. Even for me. You know, they say there are no bad ideas. No. That was a bad idea. That was a bad idea. I'm grateful that they've recoiled on it, but yeah, that was too dangerously close. James L.H. writes, jealous of your night out with John Williams and Spielberg. As bonus, even more so. As much as I... Williams' work, even he was surpassed by Zimmer's Man of Steel score. That's up for debate. Look, the reality is this. When I go to a John Williams concert, and I've gone to many of them now, everybody brings lightsabers. Because the moment he starts playing Star Wars music, all you see, if you turn around and look across the Hollywood Bowl or whatever stadium you're in, you'll see 10,000 lightsabers bopping along with the music, right? Like, people go crazy for that. That being said, I've now gone to see John Williams in concert 5 years running now, all right? I can tell you this, and this is absolutely true. The biggest pop any John Williams concert gets, and he didn't play it this year, but the biggest pop is always the Superman theme. Bum, 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 bum. And that's it. The place goes bananas. Place goes bananas. Like, I think the greatest piece of music ever written for a movie is the Imperial March. That, to me, is the best. You know what's really great? At the John Williams concert this year, they had, I think they were from the U.S. Marine Corps, the trumpet brigade or whatever it is from the U.S. Marine Corps, and they came out on stage. It's like, what are they coming out on stage for? And then they started playing the Imperial March, and it was this awesome Marine Military Corps playing ba 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 ba. I was like, ah! And everybody was going crazy. It was like awesome. It was fantastic. But anyway, yeah, every year when he does play the Superman theme, and again, they didn't play it this year because there's just so much music of his to play. People lose their minds. It's the biggest pop. Now, if you've heard me talk about Zimmer's Flight, like the Man of Steel theme, bum 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 bum, like I get chills thinking about it. At least twice a week, I just pop that on as I'm sitting here working. I'm typing. I just put that on YouTube. I just bring up that theme and play it. Bum 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 bum, and I'm just here typing away, like getting pumped up, whatever. It's great, but it's not John Williams' Superman. It's not John Williams' Superman. And as much as I love the Zimmer theme, people are not still going to be humming the Zimmer theme 20 years from now the way they do the John Williams Superman theme today. Like, you can go up to any 8th grade kid today and go, hey, name the song. Ba, 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 ba. Oh, it's Superman. Yep, there you go. You say that to a grade 8 kid 5 years from now with the Zimmer theme, they're not going to know it. It doesn't have that iconicness to it. Don't get me wrong. I love the piece. I really do. But I think you got to give it a... By the way, on YouTube, there is... Somebody put together... It's brilliant. They edited together this overlap of the John Williams Superman score and Zimmer's Superman score. And it's like angels from heaven singing. It's amazing hearing both of the themes overlapped on top of each other playing. It's great. You should check it out if you get a chance. Walden writes, another Hook cameo. The pirate they throw in the boo box is Glenn Close. You know, I thought I heard that before. I think I did hear that before. And I know there are a couple of others as well. I know Spielberg put a lot of cameos in there. But the one I had never even heard of was the George Lucas one. That's the one, and we talked about that a few days ago. That's the one I had never even heard of before. And a special thanks to all you guys who then tweeted me and emailed me the pictures of where he was in it. But yeah, I'd never even heard about that. And I love Hook. So yeah, there's that. Subtle McShave, I like that name, writes, if they do a Star Wars Old Republic series / film, how big of a focus would you want on Force-using characters compared to non-Force-using characters? I think, look, I'm all for doing Star Wars movies without Jedi or Sith. I'm all for it. But if you're going to do Old Republic, like in the true heyday of the Sith and the Jedi, that would be a massive missed opportunity. I think if you do go back and do Old Republic era stuff, I think you got to focus on the Sith and the Jedi. I think you got to do that. I don't think you have to do that with quote unquote modern movies up to the timeline that we're in. I don't think you have to do that with new movies. But if you're going to go back and do Old Republic ones, I really think it's a giant missed opportunity if you don't, because that was their heyday. If you're going to make movies about Jedi and Sith, that's the era to do it in. So yeah, that's kind of how I see it. Let's see. Quentin Tarantino and Star Trek. R rating? Love it. Well, we don't know. I mean, first of all, there's so many ifs to that right now, and a lot of people forget. Like, there's some people still wandering around. It's like, oh, did you hear Quentin Tarantino's making a Star Trek film? It's going to be rated R. No, no, and no. As of right now, Tarantino had an idea for a Star Trek film. He told it to J.J. Abrams. J.J. Abrams liked it, then went to Paramount. So Paramount has hired a screenwriter to try to flesh it out and see if they can make something out of it. As of right now, there is no new... That has not been greenlit as a movie. Even if it gets greenlit as a movie, there's been nothing official that says Quentin Tarantino would direct it. And even if it's getting made, and even if Quentin Tarantino directs it, there's nothing that says it's going to be rated R. Now, is a Star Trek movie directed by Quentin Tarantino that is rated R a possibility? Absolutely, it's a possibility. But it is kind of crazy how many people are out there are under the impression that, oh yeah, it's already done deal, right? Quentin Tarantino's making a Star Trek film, it's going to be rated R. No, no, and no. Nothing's being greenlit. Even if it does get greenlit, no one said Quentin Tarantino will actually direct it. And thirdly, nothing's ever said it would be rated R. A couple people said, whatever they're doing, maybe they'd aim for an R, blah, blah. Yeah. Well, we heard about that with other things too, and it doesn't turn out. Is it a possibility? Yes, it's a very real possibility, but we're not there yet, so let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Stubble McShave writes, Cannonball Run, fun movie set, bad movie. Well, I don't know what it is you're saying, Stubble, but R.I.P. Burt and R.I.P. Burt indeed. NTNLV16 writes, Hey John, it got announced that The Last Jedi is the highest selling Blu-ray of 2018 so far, and also that Kathleen Kennedy will be honored by the Academy. Can you smell the Star Wars trolls' tears? Have a great day. Well, I heard something about the Kathleen Kennedy thing, but I was on the road. Okay, what do we got here? Star Wars Kathleen Kennedy is making... let's see. Oh, it looks like the article I was looking at was going to be pulled down. Let's try this one. Okay. So, Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy and Frank Marshall received top Academy Awards producing honor. Oh, there you go. That's nice. Kathleen Kennedy and Frank Marshall have been honored with the Irving G. Thalberg Memorial Award by the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences, the award which is given to producers whose body of work reflects a consistently high quality motion picture production, are scheduled to be presented November 18th at the Academy's 10th Annual Governors Award Ceremony. Okay, yes, and it's well deserved, especially for Frank Marshall too. But let's be clear here. She's not getting the awards for Star Wars. I mean, let's be clear. Kathleen Kennedy isn't picking up this award for Star Wars. Remember, the greatest filmmaker of all time, in my opinion, the greatest filmmaker of all time, Steven Spielberg, has said the single greatest producer he's ever worked with is Kathleen Kennedy. She is a remarkable filmmaker. Not as a director, but as a producer. And when you got the greatest director of all time saying, that's the best producer I've ever worked with, what else can you say? Are you going to disagree with Steven Spielberg? Good luck. But let's be clear here. She is getting this award for the body of work she has done over her illustrious career. This isn't an award for Star Wars. Okay? I mean, it doesn't hurt that she's the president of Lucasfilm, yes, but she's not getting this award for Star Wars. She's getting this award for the body of work that she's done over her career. So I would not... this isn't something you use as something to prod Star Wars trolls with, because it's really not a Star Wars award. It's not. It's an award for something she's done over the decades of her career as a producer. It's not a Star Wars award. So I don't think this is something you can use. Even if you could, you shouldn't be doing it. But it's not something you can use as something to poke Star Wars trolls, because it's not really a Star Wars related thing. It's a totally separate thing. As far as the Blu-rays thing, whatever. You know, Blu-ray sales do not represent much in the movie industry anymore. So, okay, it's the highest selling Blu-ray of 2018 so far. Okay. It doesn't even really mean all that much. I mean, look, I like Star Wars The Last Jedi. You know this, so that's great. The only other thing that I'm really happy about with more people buying that Blu-ray is that I'm on the Blu-ray. So, yes, more people buy that Blu-ray so you can see my smiling face on the Last Jedi Blu-ray. But, I mean, those are two really good, cool facts. I would just say those aren't things we could really use to poke or prod people who... Because, again, just because Star Wars The Last Jedi sells a lot of Blu-rays, that doesn't mean it's a good movie, right? Just because Kathleen Kennedy is getting an award, that doesn't mean Star Wars is a good movie. I mean, it doesn't mean The Last Jedi is a good movie. So there's really nothing here to argue over, right? There's nothing here to argue over, so I wouldn't worry about it. But it is interesting stuff, so thanks for bringing that up, man. All right. Sebastian writes, I have to wonder if The Nun is overhyped. I haven't heard any overhyping. I mean, overhyping comes from everybody talking about how great it is. I haven't heard anybody saying that. So No, I mean, the answer to that question is flat out no. It's not overhyped because I don't hear anybody hyping it. Anyway, I mean, the trailers look great, but we're talking about trailers. But I haven't heard anybody overhype the movie. So, Hands of Stone writes, Mel Gibson is one of today's top directors. Yeah, I think it's fair to say that he is. But I never hear any talk about his first directed film, The Man Without a Face. Have you seen it? Thoughts? Yeah, The Man Without a Face, that he also starred in, by the way. It's a great movie. I mean, not a lot of people talk about it because it's like over 20 years old. Like, what was it, 95? Hold on a second. Man Without a Face, release date. I believe it was 95. 93. August 25th, 1993. I was off by a couple of years. I'm terrible with the release dates. It was, I mean, that makes it, 25 years old. It's a 25-year-old movie, so not one that everybody's going to talk about a lot. Plus, you know, it isn't a big blockbuster. I believe Stahl was in that with him, wasn't he? Anyway, it's a very, very good movie. Everything Mel Gibson directs is good. Everything he directs is good. So yeah, absolutely. And why this is killing me though. Why? I keep forgetting the name of the film that I actually thought there was a good argument to be made that maybe it should have won Best Picture of the Year. The one he did with Andrew Garfield just a couple of years ago, where with Hacksaw Ridge. Oh my God! If you haven't seen Hacksaw Ridge, it's so good. Apocalypto is such a great directed film. Braveheart, Man Without a Face. I mean, yeah, but Hacksaw Ridge. Here's how good that movie is, and how good of a job Mel Gibson did directing it. Mel Gibson, in many ways, is still in the doghouse with Hollywood. And you know, he's got nobody to blame but himself for that. But, you know, some people are adopting, hey, it's been long enough, forgive and forget. He's you know, he has no pattern of behavior, blah, blah. But, you know, for a very big portion of it, Mel Gibson, he's got nobody to blame but himself, is still in the doghouse a bit with a lot of Hollywood. And yet he was so good in directing Hacksaw Ridge, they just had no choice. They had to give him a Best Director nomination because it was that good. And he was that good directing it. It's a magnificent movie. If you have not seen it, you got to check it out. Okay. James L.H. writes, while you were enjoying Williams, my weekend was seeing the excellent BlacKkKlansman at my local Cineworld, and then Hostiles at home, really good also. Yeah, Hostiles, I was late to the party. I mean, I saw it in theaters. I was late to the party in that one. I always thought it looked good, but I frankly wasn't prepared for how good it was. It's a solid, great movie. I didn't put it in my top 10 films of the year, but it was really great. BlacKkKlansman, I think right now, I said this before the other day, I think BlacKkKlansman is my number 2 favorite movie of the year so far. Quiet Place is still my number 1 movie of the year. But I think BlacKkKlansman is my number 2. It's just such a well-crafted movie. You know, we talked about this the other day, the right peppering of heaviness. Then just before it gets too heavy for the audience, he lightens the tone of it a little bit. And then it gets heavy again, but before it gets too heavy, he'll lighten it again. And then by the end of the movie, you realize, I'm emotionally exhausted. Because your emotions went deep and then light and then deep and then light and then deep and then light. And then then it's not till the movie ends that you go, I got to catch my breath. Like that was a journey. And Spike Lee, who I have never been the biggest fan of, masterful job directing this movie. And I love this movie. Really love it. Murray Reich writes, no popular film category for 2019 Oscars as they have to discuss to themselves what it even means. I mean, that's the thing. That's one of the biggest frustrating things along this whole way is that they announce this new category, popular film. And also in it, as far as how one qualifies for popular film, we'll discuss that later. I mean, that was in the first announcement. It's like, you clearly have not thought this out. So why announce it? Why even announce it when you have not thought it out one bit? That's dumb, man. That's dumb. And it was a dumb idea to begin with. But yes, thankfully, cooler heads have prevailed and no stupid. I really hope, I can't even remember who's hosting the Oscars this year. Whoever's hosting the Oscars makes a joke about that popular film category. They absolutely should. All right, Sebastian writes, I gather you aren't super warm on AMC, but Adam Aaron from Philly is kicking MoviePass butt. Did MoviePass see Rocky with picking a fight with a guy from Philly? I have no idea what you mean by I'm not warm on AMC, and I have no idea who Adam Aaron is, so I don't know what we're talking about, Sebastian. Sorry. Thunder Knight 19 writes, the Supergirl movie was released in 1984, and Wonder Woman must stop it. Wonder Woman 84. You just cracked the code, Thunder Knight. You just cracked the code. You figured it out first. That would be funny, wouldn't it? Like, what if Disney just gave a big, or not Disney, but Warner Bros. Just gave a big double effort to everybody and made the whole movie about the making of the Supergirl movie? Oh my God, I hope they do something with that. That would be funny. It would be tough to do. It would probably be too cheesy, but at the same time kind of funny. I don't know. Now I'm going to struggle with that. David Coca writes, in Chapter 2, or It Chapter 2, is filming around the corner for me in Hamilton, my hometown, on Rice and Sanatorium. It's crazy how many things film on Sanatorium. It's such a gorgeous street. Saw Pennywise and Jessica Chastain filming He is Creep. That's, man, maybe I should fly home. You know what I could? I could just fly home. Anne's gone away for a week. Really? There's nothing stopping me. I could run to the airport tomorrow and just fly home for a couple of days. See my mom, say hi to some people, maybe run down to the It set, take some pictures. Maybe I'll do that. I hate flying, but maybe I will. I don't know. But anyway, thanks for giving me the update, David. Steel City forever, man. Subtle McShave writes, Pizza the Hutt suit with real pizza with electric cables. Dude, that is, I talk about Spaceballs all the time. But I will never forget, as a kid, watching Pizza the Hutt come on screen for the first time and just thinking it was the most awesome thing I'd ever seen. And, you know, that, especially that one thing, and what if we don't pay you back? Tell him, Vinny. Then Pizza the Hutt will send out for you. I remember as a kid thinking that was the funniest stuff I'd ever heard. And then they see him picking at him and eating him. You're delicious, boss, and eating the pizza off him. It's just one of the greatest. It's one of the most obvious gags of all time, but one of the greatest gags of all time in a movie. I just love Pizza the Hutt. All right, Sebastian writes. Oh, we had to jump. Where do we go? Okay, here we go. Man of Steel 2 and He-Man aren't happening. Move on. They're both probably happening. I mean, look, there's some question marks being raised now with Henry Cavill taking the Witcher project, but lots of actors do multiple movies and projects, so that's not really a big deal. He-Man has been on the back burner for a long time, but make no mistake, at some point it will happen. Especially He-Man. At some point that's going to happen. I just don't know if it's going to happen within the next 2 to 3 years. Javier Rios 405 writes, who would win, Dominic Toretto or Domino? Oh, Dominic Toretto, because Dominic Toretto does everything. And then he'll finally kick Domino in the face. She goes, but my luck. And Dominic will go, it's not about luck. It's about family. And that'll be the end of the fight. So yeah, Dominic wins. ZOMG Ruler writes, anyone ever complained to you that Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman were boring? I've heard somebody say it's boring for every movie. There's not a movie that has ever been created that somewhere out there somebody hasn't said, I thought it was boring. Because all film is subjective. Some people will find movies boring. I guarantee you that there are people out there, I've heard some people say, very rare, say that Batman vs. Superman is boring, that Man of Steel is boring, that, you know, I've heard people say, I kid you not, I heard people say Saving Private Ryan was boring. Film is subjective. That means everybody's going to have a certain different reaction to it. And that means there are going to be some people that love, hate, ambivalent, whatever to it. You're going to have the reaction. So yes, I've heard people say that about Man of Steel and about Batman vs. Superman, but I've heard them say about every movie ever made. I've heard people say about Lord of the Rings. So it's not really any surprise on that level. Let's see here. Sebastian writes, Hot Toys Thanos is crazy detailed, like amazing. Yup, and you know what? I'm getting this close. Because I might need it for a set. I'm getting this close to really considering buying. There's this 3.5 foot tall, 3.5 feet Thanos statue from Sideshow Collectibles, the company that's over Hot Toys. And I'm really, but it's like $1,000. And I'm trying to think, can I justify, now I won't buy it out of my bank account, but I'm thinking about buying it out of the business's account because it would be a very, very cool thing to have on set, right? How cool would it be to have this giant Thanos statue beside me? That's a cool piece of set decoration. And I'm thinking about picking that up, man. But it's just so much money that you know me, I have a hard time pulling the trigger on any purchase over $5. Okay. Javier Rios 405 writes, is BlacKkKlansman Spike Lee's best film? I haven't started thinking about it in those terms yet because I need to see it a few more times and I need to live with it for a little while longer. Because I think we as film fans, myself included, we start throwing these terms around way too quick. This thing is the best whatever ever. Now that one is the best whatever ever. And we do that way too quick. I think I've learned that I really got to sit and marinate on it for a while. Because, you know, I mean, Do the Right Thing, Jungle Fever, like, he's got some, I've never been the biggest Spike Lee fan, but he does have a couple of really great movies. But I'll say this, I know it's in the conversation. And give me another month or two, and I might say that, yeah, I think it's his best film ever. It very well could be his best film ever. But again, I just don't want to make that pronouncement, even for just myself, this quick. I just want to marinate on it a little bit. Joe Everett writes, I think the original Avengers stop having solo films. Just cameo like Captain America in Black Panther, Iron Man in Spider-Man, Hulk in Doctor Strange, Thor in Guardians of the Galaxy, Hawkeye in Black Widow. Well, they're going to make the movies that they think are going to make them money. And if they think a Captain America movie is going to make them more money, they're going to make a Captain America movie. You best believe. If they think, you know, with the new resurgence of the popularity of Thor, if they start thinking, man, another Thor movie would probably be even bigger than Ragnarok was. Another Thor movie could join the billion. I mean, I believe Thor Ragnarok made over 800 million. Let me just double check that. Thor Ragnarok, box office, 854 million. 854 million. I'm just curious, how much did Wonder Woman make? It was close to that. Wonder Woman made 821. So in as much as we talk about how big of a smash hit Wonder Woman was, and it was, Thor Ragnarok kind of quietly made even more than Wonder Woman did. And Wonder Woman's a huge success, huge win. And they got to be thinking at this point, you know, with the reaction to Thor Ragnarok, with the reaction to Thor in Avengers Infinity War, hey, look, a Thor 4 could very well be our next billion-dollar film. So, I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. Let's see. Alex Von Gollum writes, hey, John, the character evolution of Cap from being unsure of being up to the challenge in Avengers 1, when he says that to Coulson, to his resoluteness of I'm not looking for forgiveness in Infinity War is just awesome. Look, I'll say this too. Look, everybody knows my favorite MCU character is Captain America. I'm not saying he's my favorite comic book character, not at all. But in the movies, in the MCU, Captain America, as portrayed by Chris Evans, is by far my favorite character. But Marvel has done a very good job of evolving all their characters. Iron Man, while Tony still has his sharp wit humor, when you get to the soul of the character, he has evolved a lot from who he was in that first film. When you look at Thor, he's a different person now than he was in that first film. Cap is a different person than he was in the core values of who he is still there. But how his experiences with those values has changed and molded him over the years. And that is one of the things the MCU has done very, very well, is evolve their characters as they go. And you're absolutely right, Alex. Captain America is one of the best examples. I think Cap and Iron Man, which is, which is fitting because those really are the Batman and Superman of this MCU, is Iron Man and Captain America. Or Captain America and Iron Man, whichever order you want to put it in. But no, the whole idea of the development of the characters have never been as best represented as they are in those two characters. And they've done just a great job with it. All right, Noah DeGarmo writes, thoughts on Planet of the Apes 1968, one of my favorites. You know what's funny? It was just on TV the other day. I popped on my YouTube TV. That's the app I use to watch live TV. And the original Planet of the Apes was on. And I watched a bit. It's great, man. It's great. Get your hands off me, you damn filthy ape. Get your paws off me, you damn filthy ape. So good. I mean, the movie's great. And it's a classic for a reason. There's a reason it stands up this long. All right. Sebastian writes, the Jeffrey Owens has me increasingly upset. What the hell? Yeah, of course, we talked about that story the other day. Jeffrey Owens, actor from the Cosby Show era. He was a regular cast member. He's got a regular job at a Trader Joe's bagging groceries to pay the bills, right? Somebody took a picture of him and started job shaming him online. When it's like, you know what? He could have been just an ass. Like, are you kidding? I was famous. I shouldn't have to work. No. He works on his job. That's a man right there. That's a man taking care of his business. That's great, and I admire him for that. Robert Perez writes, just saying hi to you, John, and our community. Well, thank you so much, Robert, and hi right back at you, man. Thanks for supporting us. Angry Irish Benjamin writes, remember in The Meg, when the Meg destroyed a fleet of shark finners, Sharknado did something similar. It's funny seeing movies like this doing shark activism to compensate for their premises, I guess. I'll be honest with you, Angry. I don't remember that scene. I don't remember the scene. Now, no, I don't think, and even if it's there and I'm just not remembering it, it's nothing, it has nothing to do with shark actors. I think it's the irony in it. All films love doing things that can take advantage of some irony, right? So something like that is probably more akin to what they're doing. But yeah, again, I don't remember that scene at all. And I have never watched Sharknado. So, well, no, that's not necessarily true now that I think about it. But anyway, I think it's really more just a thing of that whenever you get like, whether it's force of nature things or whatever, I just think filmmakers like throwing in things that are kind of delicious in irony. And so I don't know that it goes anywhere beyond that, to be honest with you. But it is, that tells you how much I didn't really care about The Meg. Again, I thought The Meg had redeeming qualities. And there are certainly parts of The Meg that I enjoyed. Overall, though, I thought there were more cringy and cheesy moments than there were good moments. And overall, for me, I had to go, yeah. And I give it a thumbs down. But that's not to say I thought it was just terrible garbage. There are redeeming qualities about the film, and there are parts I enjoyed. But there are just far too many more parts I didn't. And maybe that has something to do with the fact that I don't remember that scene, because maybe I'm starting to block the movie out of my mind because it was just so forgettable to me for the most part. But hey, that's just me. All right. Noah DeGarmo writes, would you ever consider doing a separate show talking about social issues, culture, politics, etc.? Nope, not at all. I really don't think so. I am not a social scientist. I am not a political scientist. Look, I will voice my opinions about social issues and politics, and I think everybody should voice their opinions on politics because politics are about real things that matter in our world. So I think people should speak up about politics. But, you know, I'll share it on my social media channel. You know, I'll share my political thoughts on Facebook or whatever, but I never do it here, and I never do it in such a way that is like, why would, like, I have been a lifelong, avid, hardcore film fan who's worked a little bit in the film industry and all that kind of stuff. So I think as much as any other film pundit, I think I have a platform to talk about movies. Not that my opinion's any more valid than yours, not at all, but I think I have a platform to talk about movies. I don't think I have a platform to talk about politics. I mean, so, yeah, I really don't think so. I don't think anybody would care about what my thoughts on politics are, to be honest with you. Like, if you want to follow me on Facebook and you know that I'm going to talk about politics every once in a while on my Facebook page, well, then you know that. So that's great. But to do an actual show about it, it's not my field, you know? I've never served in public office. I've never, ran a campaign. I've never been, that kind of stuff. So I'm not qualified to do a show about big social issues, culture, politics, things like that. It's really not my thing. Would it be fun to do it? Is there part of me that would like to do it? Sure, but I'm not the person to do it, So I just keep that in mind. But thanks, man. I appreciate you thinking that. Tyler Yeats writes, got my wisdom teeth out today. Ouch. Yeah, wisdom teeth out is no fun. I still have one wisdom tooth left that's got to get pulled. Not looking forward to that. Not looking forward to that. The reason it didn't come out with the other ones, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was my dentist at the time said. They said at the time because of the x-ray, there's a possibility there could be a little bit of nerve damage by pulling the tooth out, and I could have a tingling sensation, whatever, for the rest of my life. She said sometimes if you wait till you're older, the root grows a little bit differently, and that doesn't become an issue. I can't remember why, but they recommended that I not pull it at the time. But I'm getting to the point now that it's got to come out. And probably within the next year, I got to get it pulled. And I'm not looking forward to it, man, because I remember getting the other ones pulled. No fun at all, man. Marie Seifering writes, beep, beep, boom. Acme declares bankruptcy. Oh, beep, beep, as in the Roadrunner beep, beep. Yes, there we go. Of course, it was brought up the other day about how Warner Brothers, in one of the most exciting things I've ever heard them mention, they are going to be making a Wile E. Coyote movie. It's going to be Coyote versus Acme. I think that's awesome. I think that's great. I'm very excited for me. Beep, beep, boom. Acme declares bankruptcy. Dirk Diggler writes, hey, John, have you ever heard about the rule of threes? It's whenever a major star, actor, musician, etc., someone very popular dies, then within the same week, 2 more famous stars die. Yeah, I've heard that. I mean, many, many times we've seen that not happen. So it's not truly a rule of 3. But yeah, I mean, it happens. People talk about it all the time. I mean, so obviously right now, everybody's going to be paying very close attention for the next week or so. They're going to be paying very close attention to the whole environment. I found it, I'll be honest with you, Dirk, I find it a little bit morbid to even talk about it. It's a kind of a morbid thing to even talk about. So I don't know. I don't really pay much attention to it. It's obviously just an old wives' tale. That's fine, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, and it's a shame that we're talking about the rules of 3 instead of just talking about Burt Reynolds and celebrating Burt Reynolds and the career he had and what he was as the guy who always had the most fun, as he once described himself as. I just want to be the guy who had the most fun. What a great philosophy on life that is, huh? I just think that's great. And at the end of the day, he won. He was the guy who had the most fun. So he wins. I mean, that's just great. But yeah, a lot of people, Dirk, are going to be keeping their eyes now on all the news reports to see who else dies, which is a morbid way to live, but you're not wrong about that. John Early writes, get busy living or get busy dying. That's goddamn right. I love that quote, man. Get busy living or get busy dying. It's a great quote. You're goddamn right. Iggy is horrible writes, the Vista in LA show 35. Oh, the Vista in LA shows 35mm movies every weekend at midnight. Saw Starship Troopers, Indy, Temple of Doom, and They Live. So awesome. Check it all out. I love movie theaters. Let me just pull it up here. I love movie theaters that play older movies and stuff like that. It's just a great way to go. And I cannot find a listing for it. But speaking of Shawshank Redemption, get busy living, get busy dying. That would be a place they would have approved of. Remember, they always had their movie nights. Was that 33mm, 35mm? Would that have been 16mm? No, it was probably 16 or Super 8. Might have been Super 8. Remember, they had the movie night in the thing there. But yeah, whether it's on original 35mm, I'll be honest with you, I don't give a crap about original 35mm film. I think its day is gone. It's dead. Digital looks better. Sorry, just does. Way easier to use. You can adapt it. You can do whatever to it that you want. Make it look however you want. It's just, digital is better. It just is. That's my thought at any rate. But I love it when theaters, whether it's 35mm, whether it's 75mm IMAX, or whether it's digital projection, whatever. I love it when theaters show old great movies. And like Starship Troopers, not a great movie, but it's a damn fun movie. Temple of Doom, They Live. Rowdy Piper. Yeah, I love it when stuff does that, and it's really cool that Vista does that. Ben Rayner writes, what happened to Stan Lee action movie? I don't think it was ever really going to happen, to be honest with you. Sebastian writes, Frankly B wants to know where the Nun dropped. I have no idea what you're talking about, Sebastian. Sorry. Let's see. William Everall writes, do you think Bruce Willis still auditions? No, I don't think Bruce Willis auditions. That's why you see him doing a lot of straight to home video movies and stuff like that. He just gets offered roles and he goes and does it. No, I think he's at that point in his career, he doesn't audition. And that's why you don't see him in a lot of great movies. I think he just gets offered it and then he'll go do them. And if they're straight to home video movies, whatever, it's a paycheck. He goes and does those. So he just doesn't give a crap anymore. And I hope that because he's going back to a franchise he had so much success with Unbreakable, and he's doing Split now, or Glass, I should say, I hope it reignites his fire and makes him want to care. And I hope he tries in this movie, because that's something we just don't see much anymore. It's Bruce Willis trying. Curtis Lopez writes, Kathleen Kennedy is getting an honorary Oscar. It's funny how The Last Jedi haters are complaining, yet they forget her past filmography. Well, remember just how I said it's pointless to think about the Star Wars movies her getting, because she's not getting it for the Star Wars movies, right? So it's pointless to gloat about that. It's also completely pointless to complain about her work on the Star Wars movies when this award is about her lifetime of work. And if you try to deny her lifetime of work, you're just making yourself look stupid. You can have whatever opinion you want about the Star Wars movies. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. But to sit there and deny that her body of work justifies an award like this, then you're just making yourself look silly. But that's the thing. You cannot gloat about this from a Star Wars point of view because it has nothing to do with Star Wars. You also can't complain about it from a Star Wars point of view because it has nothing to do with Star Wars. This is about the body of work she has done over her career. A career that ends up having Steven Spielberg saying, that's the most gifted producer I've ever worked with. No, duh. Then obviously she's going to get this award at some point. So no point in gloating about it over Star Wars and no point in complaining about it over Star Wars because it has nothing to do with Star Wars. So we should just move past that. Maria Seifring writes, Acme merger with Stark Industries up for vote. That would be an interesting crossover movie for sure. Stephen Crow, can Halloween beat its horror opening record? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Let me just double check what that number was. Because it made 700 million worldwide, but what did it make opening weekend? Made 123 million. No, I'm telling you right now, Halloween is not going to come anywhere close to that. Not going to come anywhere close to that. Now watch, it hits 150. That's the way it goes. But it's not going to come anywhere close. If Halloween can hit 70, that's throw a party. If they can hit 70 million, I'm telling you what, they are throwing parties to celebrate that. Like a huge deal. But no, it's not going to hit 123 million. No way. Curtis Lopez writes, Canada has given us great stuff, including you, but I still blame you guys for giving us Tom Green and Freddy Got Fingered. Well, here's the thing. That was really more... See, Freddy Got Fingered came after he moved to the States. I remember there was this great thing when Canada and the U.S. were about to play in the Olympics. And I think it was one of the U.S. hockey players or one of the U.S. broadcasters or something said, loser has to take Bieber. Because of Justin Bieber, right? And then I remember either a Canadian player or one of the Canadian broadcasters said, you break them, you keep them. Kind of a thing like, hey, Justin Bieber was a really good, sweet... Watch all the documentaries. He was just this good, sweet kid when he lived in Canada. And then it was when he moved to the U.S. that he kind of got ruined. But by the way, this came up... Me and a bunch of friends were sitting around the other day talking. And the whole Bieber thing came up, right? Have you noticed, actually, in the last year or more, things have been very quiet on the Justin Bieber front. Like, as far as anything controversial or bad behavior, like... Maybe he's grown up. Maybe the kid's grown up. Maybe. I don't know. I'll have to wait and see. Let's see here. And by the way, look up on YouTube if you want to talk about Tom Green. Look up on YouTube. Check the OR. Check that out, and you're welcome. Chris Parker writes, Stalking Animal Showdown, The Edge or The Gray? The Edge. Yeah, The Edge, fabulous movie. Alec Baldwin, Anthony Hopkins. It is a crazy good movie. These two dudes, one's having an affair with the other guy's wife, but they get stranded out in the wilderness when their plane goes down, and a bear catches their scent. And they're on the run from this bear. Amazing movie. I like the Gray, I like The Gray. The Gray's good. It's very good. But it's not in the same league as The Edge, to me. Yeah, The Edge takes it. If you have not seen it, Alec Baldwin, Anthony Hopkins, super thrilling. Watch it. You're going to love it. All right, let's see here. Kyle Brackman writes, are indie movies mainstream? That's like saying, what's that like saying? Indie movies are far too vast. When you say indie movie, you could be talking about any one of 10,000 things, right? You grabbing a handycam, running out and shooting for 2 hours with your buddies, and it's a movie. Guess what? That's an indie movie. Star Wars is an indie movie. I mean, let's see. If I look up for a thing of like, so the point is here, a lot of indie movies, have big name directors with big name Hollywood stars and all that kind of stuff. The only thing technically that defines an indie movie is one that is a movie that's not financed, by a major studio. That's it. It can still have the same budget. It can still have the same directors. It can still have the same big Hollywood stars. It can still have the same, like Pulp Fiction is an indie film. It can still have all that kind of stuff. The only thing that defines an indie film is one that isn't funded by one of the big major studios. That's it. So you need to say, are indie films mainstream? Well, what do you mean by indie films? It's like far too broad of a topic. There are some indie films that qualify as indie films that are mainstream, yes. And there are many, 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 many that are not, right? So it's too broad of an axiom to even try to answer, because are indies, movies mainstream? That's like asking, is water cold? Well, there's cold water, there's lukewarm water, there's hot water, there's evaporated water, there's frozen water, there's blah, 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 blah. It's like, it's too, you can't just say a yes or no to that one, right? Koba writes, if the Joker movie does well, could that lead to the end of the DCU and just build a universe off that? I don't think so. I think if anything, the real repercussions of the Joker doing well, if it does well, and if it's good, and those are two big ifs, but if it's good and if it does well, the repercussions will be felt on these Elseworld movies. You're going to see WB, invest more in some of these one-off Elseworld kind of DC movies. I don't think it will impact one way or the other on the DCEU. I think the results of Aquaman, Shazam, and Wonder Woman 1984 will determine what's going to happen with the DCEU. I don't think anything that happens with the Joker will determine what happens with the DCEU. Like, the Joker can win 5 Academy Awards and make $400 million. But if Aquaman, Shazam, and Wonder Woman all do well at the box office, they're not going to pull it just because the Joker did well. You know what I'm saying? I think the Joker will determine how much Warner Brothers will invest and look at doing these Elseworld movies. How Aquaman, Shazam, and Wonder Woman will determine how the DCEU goes. So I don't think the two have anything to do with each other, to be honest with you. All right. Mike Zambrano writes, where'd Mike go? Lost Mike. There he is. Mike Zambrano writes, did you get the PS4 yet? I can't wait. No, I have not. I will probably this weekend. I'm going to run out to Corona this weekend, go see my dogs. If I don't fly back to Canada, go see my dogs, and I'll probably run over to Best Buy, and that's when I'll pick it up. Provided they have the Spider-Man game. If they don't, then I'll probably just wait a couple of weeks. But I'm going to see if I can pick one up this weekend just so I can get that Spider-Man game. Angry Irish Benjamin writes, I was never annoyed by Warner Brothers DC copying the MCU. God knows they could do much worse. I just hated they did it so badly. Aquaman and Shazam trailers suggest they finally learned the right lessons. I don't know. I mean, that's up for debate. I've never seen that DC has copied Marvel. I've just never seen that in the movies. I've never seen it the other way around either. I've seen both sides make their movies. They're both movies about superheroes, so they're going to have some common themes. That's unavoidable. But it doesn't mean they're copying each other. I've never felt that. I really haven't. I've never felt Marvel did anything in their movies to copy DC. I've never felt DC's ever done anything in their movies to copy Marvel. They are both fantastical worlds with superhero beings wearing capes and spandex, whatever. You're going to have some overlapping thematic elements. There's no way to avoid that, but that doesn't mean you're copying, right? It doesn't mean you're copying. So I never felt they did either. Whether or not Shazam and Aquaman are doing things right and learn the right lessons, we're not going to know that until we see the movies. We're just not going to know. Because remember, Batman vs. Superman is one of the most awe-inspiring, greatest trailers ever. Not the greatest trailer, but up there. I mean, it was just phenomenal. Just sick good. And while I liked it and a few other people liked it, a lot of people didn't like the movie. I love the Aquaman trailer. I thought it was hands down the best trailer at Comic-Con. I quite liked the Shazam trailer. But that ultimately, whether or not Marvel or Warner Brothers has learned certain lessons or not, the trailers aren't going to tell us that. It's the movies that are going to tell us that. And we're now in September, right? We're 3 months away, 3 months and a couple of weeks away from finally seeing Aquaman. And we're going to know soon enough. We're going to know soon enough if they learn those lessons. I just don't know that we can bank on that just from watching trailers. All the trailers tell us is that there's a marketing company that knows how to make a good trailer. That's all that tells us. It doesn't tell us if they actually learned their lessons as a filmmaking company. It just tells us a marketing company that makes trailers knew how to make a good trailer. So, but here's hoping you're right, Angry Irish Benjamin. Let's hope that we do see that under Hamada's leadership. Maybe something new comes. We're just going to have to wait and see. Kyle Brackman writes, what made you start to collect pop figures? I'll tell you what made me start to collect pop figures. It was my brother-in-law, Ray, Ann's brother, Ray, who is Ray that has worked with me in graphics ever since AMC, all through Collider and all through now. He works with me still. He came to my office one day. And he had been to, what's the name of the store? Can't remember the name of the store, but there's this pop culture store. And he knows I love Supernatural. So do you see these two down here, these two pops right here? That is Sam and Dean Winchester from Supernatural. So he came back with these two pops for me. And everybody else had already been collecting them and stuff like that. But I just, I'm not going to do it. And man, it's a sickness. Because once I put these two, where are they? This way. Once I put these two on one of my shelves, I'm like, you know what would look good? If I had a Castiel, one right beside it. So I get Castiel. Then I'm like, well, I should probably pick up one or two Star Wars ones. And I got, where'd he go? I got this helmetless Vader with the scar on his head. And then it's like, oh, well, I'll pick up some other ones. And then I get Deadpool, and then I get Flash, and I get some Game of Thrones ones. And then before you know it, I've got like 100 of them like sprawled all over the place. So I stopped. But man, I'm telling you, I was buying 2 or 3 new ones every week for a while. Now, fortunately, these things aren't hot toys, and they don't cost $300 a piece. These things cost you $15 a piece, depending on where you buy them. But I was buying a hell of a lot of them, man. I was buying a lot of them, and I haven't bought a new one in a while. The last new one I bought was the Tony Stark pop, which you can't see it. It's off camera here, over here, is a Tony Stark pop from Spider-Man Homecoming. That's the last one I bought, and that was like 5 months ago. So it's been a while since I bought any new pops. Maybe I should buy a couple of new ones. I don't know. Angry Irish Benjamin writes, To the last I grapple with thee. From hell's heart I stab at thee. For hate's sake I spit my last breath at thee. God! One of the reasons that is the greatest Star Trek movie ever made. That's the greatest Star Trek movie ever made, man. Good quote. Nick Kaiser writes, Tarantino directing a Bond movie would be stellar. I don't know. I'll tell you what. Remember when I said, Anton Fuqua, yeah, he's one of 20 or 30 guys. I don't know that Quentin Tarantino would be one of those 20 or 30 guys. I really don't. Look, Tarantino is brilliant making Tarantino films. My fear is that Tarantino would not be capable of stepping in and making a non-Tarantino film. My fear is he'd step in and just make James Bond feel like a Tarantino film, and that's not what James Bond is. Now, I'm not saying that's what would happen. It's my concern, though. It's my concern. One of the things I said when they started talking about the whole Quentin Tarantino with Star Trek stuff was, I'm very curious to see what Tarantino I was dead curious to see, can Tarantino get over himself? Because, look, you got to have a real healthy ego to be that good of a director. And he's great, so he's got a very healthy sized ego, right? Can he get over himself to resist the urge to make a Star Trek film just like every other one of his films and feel just like all of his other films and make a Star Trek film? Can he do that? And I was frankly very excited to see if he could do that. I don't know if I want to see him experiment on that with James Bond. Maybe he could, and maybe it would be the greatest Bond movie ever. I gotta say I'd have my apprehension about it. As much as I love Quentin Tarantino and I adore his movies, I gotta say I don't know that I want to see him touching James Bond. I don't know that I want him to turn James Bond into just another Quentin Tarantino style movie. I don't know. But I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, Nick, that as soon as you said that are going, hell yeah, let's see a Quentin Tarantino directed James Bond movie. So I don't know. I think you're going to find people are a little divided over that. Let's see. Last two questions of the day. Oh my gosh, we've gone almost 20 minutes overtime. Okay. Nick Kaiser writes, thoughts on The Last Jedi having a top Blu-ray sales so far this year? I guess it's not hated as much as angry and loud people tell us it is. Again, I mean, yeah, anecdotally, sure, yes. But I wouldn't read too much into that because, honestly, home Blu-ray sales don't mean a lot. Now, clearly it means these people who try to paint this fake reality, everybody hated The Last Jedi. And I kept trying to tell them, no, they didn't. A lot of people like The Last Jedi. No, everybody hates it. No, a lot of people love it. There's a good amount of people that don't like it either. I'm not denying that. But this myth that nobody likes The Last Jedi, you're kind of wrong. And while I don't think you can put a lot of stock in Blu-ray sales, at least anecdotally, look, if your movie is universally hated, you're not the number one Blu-ray selling movie of the year up to this point. You're just not. And yet here we are, and it is. So, but again, I wouldn't put too much stock in it. Honestly, I wouldn't. I would never go into an argument or a debate with somebody, and as one of my arguments bring, it's the number one selling Blu-ray of the year, I would never pull that out as one of my debating points. It's a vulnerable, fragile point to try to use as one of your debating points. I wouldn't use it personally. I don't put that much stock in it. I really don't. But hey, it's cool. I mean, it's better to be that than one of the lowest selling Blu-rays of the year, right? So it's a good thing. Final question of the day comes to us from Jubalara, who writes, the Academy confirmed that the awards that aren't broadcast live at the Oscars will rotate each year, so it does not affect the same categories each year. Your thoughts? Well, I mean, I guess I'm okay with that, but look, there's certain categories they'll never touch. They're never going to touch Best Picture. They're never going to touch Best Director, Screenplay, Actor, Actress, Supporting Actor, Supporting Actress. Outside of that, yeah, they'll probably rotate it a bit, but there's just no point. Look, nobody who's watching people get mad at me as saying this. Don't get mad at me for the coulda. I'm just talking about what the is, not the should. I'm not talking about should. I'm talking about what is. And you cannot argue that the vast majority of people sitting at home watching the Oscars do not care about short documentary feature. Do not care about short live action. I'm not saying whether they should care or not. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, do they care? And you just can't debate that they don't care. So if you're trying to make the show more palatable for the audience, well, take some of those categories, still give people their Academy Awards, but don't broadcast it as a part of the show. Look, for years they've had another night where they've given out other awards, technical awards. Are you saying that technical awards aren't important? And well, yes, they're important, but there's just not something that the audience at home cares about, so we give away those awards on another night. And then we highlight those during the show. We say, hey guys, we hosted a special night for other awards about a week ago. Here's some of the highlights. So-and-so won this, so-and-so won this, so-and-so won this. Great. Just do the same with the short category films. Because you can argue with me all you want that people should care about them, and I won't debate you. But you can't debate that the audience doesn't care about them. We're not talking about should, we're talking about does. And so, yeah, to me, that's just kind of a thing. But anyway, I'm just very glad that they've pulled that stupid, ridiculous, most popular category one. I'm just really glad they pulled that one out. All right, guys, that will do it for today. Look, the stream didn't break down. Will wonders never cease? Thank you guys for joining me here today. I really appreciate it. You know what? Seriously, I say this all the time, and I think I say it so much it loses its meaning. But honestly, you know, I start every show, I say it's an honor and privilege to have you guys here with me today. It's not just words, dudes. I'm honored. You guys took time out of your day when you could be doing anything else. And you took time out of your day today to come hang out with me and the other film fans and just talk some movies for a while. Seriously, that is an honor and a privilege, and it's one that I don't lose sight of. So thank you very much. I'm really grateful that you do that, and I appreciate it very much. We'll, of course, be back again tomorrow morning with the John Campea Show. A lot of stuff to cover on tomorrow morning show. Hopefully, it's going to be live again, because we couldn't do it live today, but we will tomorrow. That'll do it for me, guys. Thanks a lot for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.